Hello and welcome to Cafe DC. I'm Faiz Rahman, and our guest today is a prominent Pakistani-American activist, a social worker, and a doctor who's been around a long time, to say the least, because she has done so much, not just for the community, but also for her motherland, Pakistan. Dr. Shahnaz Khan, welcome to Cafe DC.
Thank you very much.
I'm glad you could make it. The weather is a little nasty here today. It's raining outside, but thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you.
So let's just start with your most recent obsession, so to speak. I mean, you've been just, like I said before, I don't know, you just refuse to settle down. I have seen you at Apna doing so many things on the sidelines for the community, for Pakistan. But right now you've been involved with an organization. It's called Rise for Pakistan. Please tell us something about it.
So, like you said, I've been involved with many organizations and have done work with some charitable organizations. But when we look back and saw that things in Pakistan are really not going where they should be going, and there are so many NGOs, so many people doing charitable work, and still things are not improving. So I started talking to people in Pakistan to figure out what is it that's missing or what is it that can be done. And after talking to Jawad Ahmed, who is a prominent singer and artist
singer, of course,
in Pakistan, we decided that what we need to do is to create awareness in grassroots, especially youth and workers of Pakistan, about the socio-political, economic issues and how they relate to their lives and how they are the ones who have to really get up and do something. Because we looked at this country, and when we look at it here, this country was made by struggle, by people's struggle. So you look at it and you look at civil rights movements, you look at women's movements, you look at workers' movement, labor movements, and whatever has been achieved in terms of rights of minorities, rights of workers, rights of women, it was achieved through struggle. It was achieved because they themselves realized that unless they get up and unless they raise their voice and they demand their rights, nobody's going to do anything for them. So we looked at in Pakistan, the worker situation is so bad, really, that even though there is a minimum wage for workers, which is still pathetic. I mean, 12,000 rupees is $120 a month, which is nothing. But most of the times, even people, they don't get it. I mean, many times workers end up working.
They don't even get 12,000.
They even don't get 12,000. And when they don't get that, they don't have any health benefits. They don't have any old age benefits. There's no social security. Their children are deprived of education. When they stop working, there's nothing for them left. So it is really a bad situation, and especially if then you come to women's workers. Many of them are home-based workers, which means that they do either arts, crafts, and then they sell things in the market, and they have no security. They don't even have minimum wages. I mean, they don't even apply. Then you look at, okay, how did people struggle? There has to be a platform upon which they come together and they work collectively. Because if few people are working here and few are working there, and there's you see on television in Pakistan, there's always something going on in the streets. There are WAPDA workers, there are teachers, there are various sections of the workers, but they're doing it individually. They're doing it in small groups.
So you want to combine. Yeah.
So it doesn't get them the results, unless they have a collective voice, unless there's a platform where they come together and they work collectively, they're not going to achieve, their goals.
This is, of course, this is a very commendable concept, a good thought, and good effort. But at the same time, it raises some questions. For example, why would somebody from outside the country be interested in mobilizing this very important segment of the society? Why can't they themselves realize this? If you see, for example, you started off talking about this country, the movements, the struggles. They were indigenous struggles. They were like people rose themselves. They did not need an outside impetus to realize that we need to stand up. So do you find it difficult in terms of creating an impact for this movement in Pakistan?
Well, you're right that it has to be. So that is why where Jawad comes in. We have a team in Pakistan. So basically, it has to. In this country, if you look at it, there were many people who migrated to this country who were the facilitators or who were the catalysts of this. Like in the, if you look at the Haymarket massacre, that was part of the labor movement. And they were very German immigrants. There were, different immigrants who have come to this. There have been who
That's
have,
who
have actually
good
then
aspect of it, exactly.
Right. So yes, you cannot go from outside. You cannot be a foreigner. You have to be part of that community. But so that's why we have a team there. We have, of course, Jawad is leading the team. But then,
so Jawad is basically the leader of the organization in Pakistan?
In Pakistan, yes.
Okay.
But we have.
Is he drawing any salary?
No.
Okay.
No, it's not.
It's not a paid job.
No, it's not a paid job.
He has a different day job, I guess.
Yes, he has his own. He's an artist and he's a singer. So. But yeah, you're right that it has to be so we have a team in Pakistan.
And labor situation is a very complex.
Yes.
I mean, it's a problem. It's just it's not just Pakistan. It's all over the world. I mean, you take the example of China, India, the Philippines, even now Europe, the Eastern European countries, Poland, and as they say here, is the economy is stupid. So, do you think that these issues are actually grounded in the state of the economy in Pakistan?
Yes.
Without improving the economy, you can't really address those issues directly.
What we believe is that all your institutions, all your social and your legal, your political institutions are actually grounded in the economy. So the economic foundation of the system is actually where everything else is based upon. So yes, it all depends on economy. And if you look at economy, who makes economy? It's the workers. There are people who shuffle papers, but there are people who work with their hands, and they're the ones who create wealth. In this country, if the railroads were built, if the auto industry was built, if there is any kind of technological improvements, they are the result of workers, working.
There are different theories. There's a trickle-down economy and ergonomics.
Which has not worked. The trickle-down economy has not worked. Yeah. Basically, we've seen that. That is where, I think that is where we believe that the trickle-down economy has not worked. The neoliberal philosophy has not worked, and that is where we see the problem. And we believe that unless you make the people who are actually, and by workers I don't mean always industrial workers, the people who are working in the offices or who are drawing wages, people who are in the fields, who are growing. Like in Pakistan, at this time, there are 46% of the workers are actually agricultural workers who work in the fields.
46%. That's
almost half of the workforce. Mm-hmm. And what do they get? You go there and you look at their condition. They are living. It's like I don't want to say it, but it's like animals. They don't have any rights. They don't have. They can get abused physically, emotionally. Otherwise, they have no rights. They don't even have a right to make their own trade union. So they have no platform upon which they can get together and ask for their rights. So the landowners, the big feudals, they can treat them anywhere they want.
So when you talk about these issues, of course, these require very effective and complicated legislation, a legislative process.
Yes.
I don't
yes.
think without having
yes.
proper, and I'm sure Pakistan does have laws already on the books at least, which may not be enforced properly. So if I go through your charter, the Rise for Pakistan's charter, so what would be the first 3 or 4 points that you are working on?
So our mission is that we want to inform, educate organize, empower youth and workers so that they can develop alliances with other oppressed segments of the society, and they can fight for their rights, basically. So we want to build a movement of all these people where they can, like you said, that yes, there is legislature, but why isn't it being enforced? Because there is no pressure from below. See, people, unless they demand something, they will continue to be oppressed. So they are the ones who have to stand up and say, look, like for instance, I'll give you one example. In Pakistan's constitution, education is a right. Every child has a right to go to school. But why doesn't it happen? I mean, it doesn't happen. It's not happening because on the top, there's no will to enforce it. On the bottom, there is no pressure for them to be enforced. So unless the grassroots stands up and says, look, you know, this is in the Constitution, why isn't it being done? The similar, like I said, the minimum wage, it's not being enforced. Why? Because sometimes the unemployment is so prevalent that people are so desperate that they will take whatever is offered. And that's not fair. You know, why should somebody be so desperate to just take whatever is thrown to them, you know, like crumbs? So that is where we say that unless people themselves want it, you know, nobody gives you your rights just because they're good-hearted. History, you can look at history and you can see historically that the rights were only when people wanted it, when they demanded it, when they stood up and actually...
It also sounds like a lot like a political movement, because any labor movement, workers' movement will have very strong political context.
Yes, so nothing happens without politics. I mean, if you look at right now in U.S., there is the gay and lesbian movement, and you see the environmentalists, you know, their movement. So nothing moves without politics, because politics is part of life. I mean, that is what makes things go. So yes, I mean, civil rights movements. That was it's always a. So any social movement is a political movement. So it is a political movement.
So I mean, do you have any alliances with other political groups, or is it?
No, we don't. We're not a political party, and we are an independent movement. So, because once you get aligned with a political party, then their agenda gets in your way, and then they have their own manifestos and their own. So, we don't care which political party comes into power, as long as they can implement what we wanted implemented. So, what we want to do is our members. What we have set up is in Pakistan, International Youth and Workers Movement. So that is the platform where people become members, and then we have sessions for them. We talk about different issues. Basically, it's right now we are working with the students in college and university students, and then we've just started working with the workers. We have developed we've formed one trade union for that. So. Yes, everything is related to politics, but you don't have to be a political party. Like, in this country, all these pressure groups, you can call it, or the people, for instance, the gun rights movement. They're not political movements, but they're not political.
But they have very strong political connections and alliances.
Yes.
I mean, for example, you said the gun lobby.
Yes.
So,
so in this country, system is a little bit different. Right. There's lobbying, which in Pakistan we don't have lobbying.
No, but if you want to bring a change on the ground,
yes.
you have to have proper legislation
yes.
and enforcement.
Yes.
And for that, you need electoral politics. I
yes.
mean, you need to have some members of the parliament on your side, those who can introduce
yes.
bills and
yes. So
pass
first,
those bills,
once we get to that stage, once we have enough strength, then you have enough voices to say we want to implement this. We want to make sure that minimum wage law is implemented 100%. But you have to have enough strength. I think we are too small right now. We just started working about a year and a half ago, so we don't have enough strength. But yes.
So you see this organization going in that direction, being maybe a political pressure group in a few years or so?
Yeah,
so?
we are hoping, I mean, it
Okay.
takes time to build, especially in Pakistan where things are very unstable sometimes, It takes time, but yes, we hope to have enough strength.
So you have chapters
we
across
have
the country?
an office in Lahore. We just started an office in Karachi. We are in South Punjab, and we are gradually, depends on also, frankly, human resources and also financial resources. So we are not.
So who's supporting you?
When we started, it was just myself and Jawad. We basically put the seed money in, and we started the organization. But gradually, we are asking, anyone who believes in the cause that we are working for, to financially support it. So contribute or donate to Rise for Pakistan, because that is what we want to do there.
So any support you've been?
We have
able
just
to-
actually
from
we
here?
haven't actively gone out and done
From-
fundraising yet.
Okay.
This was the first year that we held small events.
But
and
this is
different,
something that you're looking
But this
into.
is something that we definitely want to do, and we hope people will support.
There's been
Rise for
some
Pakistan.
mistrust or maybe distrust when it comes to Pakistani Americans and people in the diaspora, because you and I left Pakistan a very, very long time ago.
Yes.
It's been a while.
Yes.
And then things have changed in Pakistan drastically.
Yes.
And during all these years, so many people have come and gone, done different stuff in the name of serving the country. But, the results were for the people in Pakistan haven't been so, as you pointed out
Yes.
yourself initially, that, we haven't seen real changes on the ground. So what's the guarantee this time that people will not mistrust you? They will open arms,
I think
will welcome you with open arms.
when you use the word mistrust, you mean by financially or
Well,
what?
overall, people, just
Yeah.
not just financially. I mean, just people go there, they take, prominent positions, and then things just basically remain as they are. So-
Well, like I said, that most of the things that people have done from here is mostly charitable work, because you're right that to actually do a grassroots, you have to have people in Pakistan. So most of the work that has been done is mostly a charity work. There are many organizations in Apna, outside Apna, that are supporting various causes. I was involved with Human Development Foundation for almost 10, 12 years. So that work, I think that has results there. I think when you go back, but that was my point exactly, that those results are not visible because you're helping just individuals here and there and small groups. But the overall situation in Pakistan has, in Pakistan there are so many NGOs, there are probably hundreds of thousands of NGOs. But NGOs cannot change the culture of the society. They cannot change the thinking. They cannot change the fundamentals of the society. They have to work within that. What we want to do is change the fundamentals of the society, to change the economic structure. Because our main problem is why should a few hundred families be controlling most of the wealth of Pakistan? There are only a few families that control lands, they control banking sector, they control corporations, they control big businesses. Why should that be such? That country is not just for those few families. We want to change that. We want that is what we want to challenge.
Change it? That's not just in Pakistan. That's
a worldwide. Yes.
You see 1%. You hear this all the time.
Very true. That's what the Occupy movement was.
Right. So how are you planning to change it? What's your first step?
First step is to inform, and like you said, the first step is for people to be aware of the problem. People have to know that
so
this
at this
is
point, you're
connected
basically
to
just talking,
Yes.
informing people.
Informing
and
people,
then
yes,
once you
yes.
have like a critical mass, then you
do, because in this country, when the Occupy movement started, they created that awareness, the 1%, 99%.
But where is it? Where is that movement gone? You haven't
that's
seen
exactly
any
a
difference
question,
then?
because movements, unless they are structured, there's a leadership, there's a long-term vision, and there is some an infrastructure for the movement. Movements come and fizzle out. This is what's happening even in Pakistan. There are movements here and there, but you really need a strong long-term goals. You need a leadership. you need a core group that keeps the movement going, and the core group has to then have the confidence of the people. And it's a slow process. This is what I'm saying. This is not something that you build in a year or two. It may take 5 years, 10 years, we don't know. But if you want to do things right, then that is really the path that you have to take. And you have to be prepared that it may not be in my lifetime, But that's okay as long as you start something and then other people come and build it.
So after creating awareness, what comes next?
So first you have to create awareness. Then you have to create alliances. Like I said, we're working with youth and workers. So our goal is then to connect. Youth is for middle class. Because the poor people, their kids hardly finish high school. So most of the kids that come to the colleges or universities, majority of them come from middle class. So their economic background is totally different than the workers, So you have to then awareness, and then you have to connect with them so they actually see what these people are going through. So you connect the two groups and then develop alliances. And that's what I'm talking about, that's a slow process. So once you have enough strength, then, to be honest, you have to have a street power. You basically say that we want, for instance, just as an example, we want universal education for all the children. So nothing, if nothing happens, then people have to, push the lawmakers or the whoever is in the positions of power to implement that. And to be honest, if this does not happen, if that is how revolutions come. When people get so frustrated, when people get so angry, when people feel like nobody's listening to them, nobody's responsive to them, when they see that even the lives they're living is not worth living, then what happens? Then people get desperate, and that's when the revolutions come. That's the end result of it if nothing happens. So this has happened in the past, and it will happen again.
Have you also thought of maybe, as in Europe and here in North America, they have pressure groups, no street powers. You hardly see, except Occupy Wall Street, but it was just like in very limited areas, just Washington and New York. But things do happen, things change, and since the civil rights movement, you haven't seen big rallies and big, I may be wrong, but if my memory serves well, but things been changing a lot. So you have...
the street movement, grassroots, it's not happening in this country, but it's happening in the rest of the world. You look at Greece, you look at Spain, you look at Italy, look at...
Because of the very desperate economic conditions.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Very, huge unemployment.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying, that when things get to that level, then that is what happens. Now, in this country, people are still comfortable,
There are a few more movements in Pakistan when you,
yes.
You have seen these recent, like Imran Khan's been there, he's still sitting in Islamabad. Dr. Tahir Qadri, he just left Islamabad. And there are, again other pockets of different movements in different parts of the country. Why do you think those movements won't be successful, and why it's not a good idea for you to join maybe a bigger movement already?
So you mentioned Imran Khan. Imran Khan, I think, is a very sincere person, but the problem we see with him is that he is still not challenging the fundamental. See, the people who are with him, you have to look at that and then see where is he going to go. People who are on his right and left and front and back are the people that I was talking about, the few families. They're landowners,
since
they're
Imran Khan
business
is not
people.
here or his party
Yes.
is not here, so I would not...
That's fine. Okay.
Yeah, because
sure.
he should have a chance to...
I agree. That's
but
fine.
I would basically, to be
Yes.
quote-unquote devil's advocate, maybe his focus is different
Yes.
than what
and
you
that
are
is,
talking about.
and you're true that the fundamental focus difference is right now.
Yes.
At least I don't know where he will go in next.
Of course, his is a political party to begin with.
Yes, he's a political
and
party.
yours is not.
Yes.
I mean,
So-
he's trying to bring about a political change in the country with certain,
Yes.
you know.
So he started, like I said, we don't want to go into too much
Exactly,
into the
yeah.
detail, but where we see our difference.
But there's just one more point that I would like to ask. As I mentioned before, you have been involved in HDFNA and other groups. APNA has been a hugely successful organization in this country, the Association of Pakistani Physicians in North America. And a lot's been going on the sidelines. Every time you go to its convention every year, you see so many other groups holding their programs, especially lots of NGOs and non-profit organizations. So through that experience, what you realistically expect in terms of results and impact
From
of this new movement? I mean,
For Rise for
For Rise for
Pakistan?
Pakistan.
Like I said, what we really would like to see is to, our basic slogan is equality. By that we mean that all people are equal, and equality shouldn't be just a word. Equality means equality of opportunity, where a child who is born in a poor household or a rich household, if they want to do something, they should have the opportunity to become what they want to become. And secondly is the right of equal rights on resources. That is where I was saying that only a few families are controlling the resources. Every child who is born has equal rights on the resources of that country. It should not be the monopoly of a few people, because it's the resources and the
Universal
opportunity
charter of
that
human-
depends what you can be and whether you can be what you want to be. We cannot make people equal, like everybody's born with different talents, they're born with different aptitude.
But
We are all
everybody should
different.
have equal
But they should have an
opportunity.
equal opportunity to be the best that they can be, and that for that they need to have resources, and they have to have the opportunity and the rights over resources. So they can use those resources, they can use their internal talents and their skills to become what they want to become. And that is what our slogan is, that we want equality of human beings, not just in Pakistan, but all over. So that is our ultimate vision, you
Rise for
can say, for
Pakistan.
Rise for Pakistan, is equality of all human beings.
Very good. With these noble words, we have to end this
Okay.
program. Thank you very
Well,
much
thank
for
you very
joining
much.
us today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
Dr. Shanaz Khan was with us and talking about her recent initiative, Rise for Pakistan. Thanks for watching.